Hey, greetings everybody. Welcome to another Thoughtful Thursday. I am your man in black, your host, Jack Randall. Each week I'm absolutely ecstatic to offer you tips, tools, and insights to help you discover, understand, and pursue your calling with a passion to find new joy, meaning, and fulfillment in life. Please subscribe, like, share, whatever. I want to get the word out, so your help is greatly appreciated. Are you driving your life with purpose, or are you mindlessly riding along just to see where you end up by chance with your life? Are you driving it, or just going to see where you end up? I hope that you're with me and that you will drive your life and make the most of it. This week we're going to look at part 3 in my 8-part series on your 5-year personal success system. In part 1 we looked at Consider the Components. That was the title of the first one. Remember, we looked at a model car kit. The kit itself, the box, was the vision. We needed the vision, we needed the parts and pieces, and we also needed the plans, didn't we? So we're going to talk about that as we go along, but that's what we talked about in part 1. And last time in part 2 we looked at create your 5-year vision. In other words, how to begin to paint a detailed word picture of your expectations for 5 years into your future. For 5 years from now, you have to know what success looks like. So the vision, the box, if you will, becomes so important. What do we want in 5 years? If you missed seeing either of those 2 segments, go back, look them up on YouTube, Facebook, or my website at www.windmillleadership.com. I've entitled this segment in part 3, Choose the Pieces. Again, we're talking about those pieces that we talked about in part 1. We're going to get more into the weeds on that. What are the pieces you're going to need for your 5-year to realize that 5-year vision? What are the things we're going to need? Last time I gave you an example and asked you to write out what your dream vacation looks like. It was just a simple exercise. And maybe you came up with it, you were going to go to Disney World. Well, if that were the case, what are the parts and pieces you need to make it to Disney World? You could describe it to me. You had a vision of going to Disney World. But I'm saying now, after you've got that written description, what are the parts and pieces? Well, you'd need to plan for time off. You need to have the income to buy the tickets and to have the spending money there. And you'd also need to know who's going along, how much time you take. All of those are parts and pieces that you'd have to think through in advance. You have the picture. Now what are the pieces that I need to make that happen? We're on part 3 here. So if you can see the 5-year vision, what are the pieces you're going to need? If you're going to make supper tonight, for example, you're going to have a vision of what supper looks like, but you're going to have to know, oh boy, I got to get some potatoes tonight. The meat I think we have in the freezer. And mentally, you're going to go through that shopping list. The same thing with your 5-year vision for your life. So again, I'm going to help you step through this by asking you some questions that are likely in your mind for the parts and pieces that you're going to need for your 5-year success plan. First question you might be asking is, what do I expect in 5 years? What are my expectations? Well, you already have most of that done when you did your written vision that you put into a Word document. But what am I expecting? Have that clearly in mind, and you need to do that written vision first. Next, you might want to ask the question, have I done my due diligence? In other words, have I thought it through? So as you did your vision, which we talked about last time, and now you're figuring, okay, what do I need to make that happen? You may go back and forth and say, I can't do that. Or if I did that, that's going to be I can't possibly do that. You may go back and forth to find out that what you're going to need to actually carry out that vision is more than you really want, that's more of a cost than you want to pay. Or it's unrealistic in 5 years, maybe in 10. But I'm just saying, what is it that you want 5 years? You may have to go back to your vision and modify one to another. But have I done my due diligence? In other words, have I thought this through? The next question you might be asking is, what is the extent of the vision? Is it simple or elaborate? But you want details. So let's say you did your vision and it was an elaborate vision. You gave all kinds of details. And when you actually are sitting down now figuring what are the parts that I need, what are the pieces, you're going to go, man, that's way more complicated than I want my life to be in 5 years. That's okay. This is by taking inventory here, what you need. You may want to scale that vision back. Again, It's yours to do, but you're thinking it through. And this is just another exercise to help you figure out if that's really realistic and if I can actually do that. What's another question? Who do I want to bring along? We talked about last time, if you're doing this individually, and if you're in a relationship or maybe you're married, you're probably going to want to end up sharing this with your spouse. She or he would do it separately, and you can come together and share it. They may say, vocationally, this has to be yours. That's not me. That's okay, but now you know what you can expect. And maybe they're on board for the whole thing, maybe not, but you're better off by having that conversation. If they're part of it, you need to have their engagement in this, don't you? So who do I want along? Like on a dream vacation, just to jump back to that illustration, you may find that the other person says, count me in, I want to go with you. That sounds exciting. Or they might say, you want to go somewhere cold? I don't think so. I want to go somewhere warm. Again, you'd be better off to know this before you start than actually when you're actually on the journey there. Next question you might want, how flexible am I? Am I rigid that this has to be the case in 5 years? Or am I somewhat flexible? Just answer that question to yourself. Am I flexible? How long will this take? Well, if we're looking at a 5-year snapshot, there's plenty of time. But is this what I'm actually looking at? Is it going to take more than 5 years? That's okay, as long as you realize that in 5 years, I will only achieve part of it. I won't achieve the full thing. Let's say you're just coming out of high school and you want to be a doctor. 5 years probably won't get you through all the training you need, but that's okay. That's part of the process. In other words, how long will it take? It's just a good question to ask as you're putting your pieces together, as you're gathering the pieces to achieve that vision. What is the order of the pieces I'm going to be putting together? Back in the model car example, the wheels would probably be one of the last things you'd put on the car. You wouldn't start with the wheels where you could, but you want to make sure that there's an order to things. And as you plan your vision, what are the order that you'd have to take? Let's say, again, if I wanted to be a doctor, if I want to study to be a doctor, I'd have to go to school first. I couldn't look for a job as a doctor. There's an order to things. So in other words, what are the order of the pieces that I needed? Give a lot of thought into that. Another question is, how do the pieces fit together? Am I willing to count the cost and take a segment of my life, set it aside to get the education I need or not? So that becomes part of it. Am I willing to get part-time jobs? Am I willing to really grunt it out, if you will, for 5 years to achieve what it is that I can enjoy after that? That's a question you have to ask. So how do the pieces fit together? Which pieces do I need or I want? You may get to you may put the vision together and you may look at the pieces and you go, I don't like that piece there. I don't like that piece at all. Well, maybe you have to go back and change the vision, don't you? What pieces do I still need? Maybe you're looking at changing at vocation, or maybe you're retired and now you've always had a passion to do something, fill in the blank. Maybe I need some additional training. Am I willing to do that? Do I need any additional resources? What are the pieces I still need? Have I estimated the cost, either in terms of financial, time, energy? Am I willing to have I estimated the cost, and am I willing to pay it? Am I willing to put in the time? That's another thing that I think is an honest question, and it might sound overly simplistic, but again, that's another thing in terms of the pieces. Am I willing to put in the time? Am I willing to put in the cost? And I think when you look at yourself and you actually do this exercise, I think it'll be really powerful. Again, in closing, carefully choose the pieces that you're going to need to achieve that 5-year vision that you laid out in our last segment. Carefully choose them. The rewards will be tremendous. But again, it's just another way of seeing, do they fit? Do they match? Do I see it through completely? Remember, your chances of arriving at success in the future is more likely when you drive your life. Again, I'm going to ask, how can I help? I'd love to be your coach. If you're struggling trying to get from here to there with your calling or with your personal life, I can help. Contact me at jack at windmillleadership.com. Love to hear from you. I'm going to close this segment, as I always do, by saying, if you know your maker, the best is yet to come. All my best to you as you carefully choose your pieces. Take care, everybody. See you next time.